Okay. The first part of the webinar, you gave a very short presentation about the whole things we already discussed before. Okay, very short explanation about what kind of contents, what kind of key information you cover by these slides. Okay, very short. After that, I will ask you questions based on the slides. All right? Okay. Let's start.
So hello. So today we will analyze the case of the manufacturing factory BlackBerry that is facing financial and business issues. During the last few years, finally didn't perform well. It was a very successful company, but just before they missed the transition with the smartphone. So before going through the case study, I will introduce my French colleagues. So here is Luc, Charlie, Hugo, and Vincent, and myself, Axel. So we will start introducing the company by seeing what the company is making, then make a diagnosis of its current state, and finally suggest some recommendations for the future of BlackBerry.
Now we're talking about the introduction of the company. Created in 1984 under the name of Research and Motion, the company has been built by Mike Lazaridis and renamed BlackBerry. Mike is a Canadian businessman, investor in a quantum company technology, and founder of BlackBerry, which created and manufactured the BlackBerry wireless and endless device.
BlackBerry is a well-known phone manufacturer for their famous phone with keyboard and for their network, which permits to the user to communicate, to send message each other without being connected on the mobile network. This network is called BlackBerry Messenger. Originally, BlackBerry had a professional customer. It was a brand, it is the release of the curved range that the brand seduced the general public, thanks to the multimedia function, which seduced college and high school students. And thanks to that, the brand began the second of the mobile market just after Nokia.
It is a simplified limited company which didn't perform well over the last 5 years. BlackBerry is still running, but has lost most of their customers. Indeed, its market share has decreased by 19%, that is to say from 20% in 2009 to less than 1% in 2016.
The graphic that you see here is the sales of the BlackBerry by million product over the years, over the period 2006 to 2015. We can see that the peak of the sales of BlackBerry was in 2010, where the sale was over 30 million. There were over 30 million sales. After 2011, the sale gone lower and lower to finally reach its lower point in 2015. We can say safely that the reign of BlackBerry on the phone market was quite short. We now explain why it was so short.
Now let's talk about the diagnosis and why the company, and explain the graphic we've seen just before. So their phone sales are going lower and lower, as said Luc just before. During the 2013 financial year, BlackBerry reported $6 billion loss. It's very important. And BlackBerry lost $1 billion because of a stock charge for the Z10 installed phone and a restructuring cost of $500 million. The company is not challenging anymore. The big brand like Apple or Samsung, the main actor of the market, and now decide to reduce costs by gently changing its orientation by leaving the phone selling market. We will see in the part recommendation how BlackBerry should restructure itself and what it should do instead of phone selling.
The BlackBerry main failure is the lateness to develop a new generation of smartphone, as their competitors did, which involved the loss of their leading position of the phone market and a huge part of their market shares. Indeed, when brands like Apple or Samsung have invested money in the development of smartphones, BlackBerry didn't take the turn at the right time, so this bad timing has lost many customers to the company who were expecting more innovation from the brand.
So BlackBerry had undervalued the popularity of touchscreen mode after the iPhone launching by April in 2007. The company has continued to develop the smartphone with a mechanical keyboard. Indeed, it did not succeed to detach of it, even after to launch a new smartphone with touchscreen, owing to their delay of its development. So the late development of touchscreen in smartphone became one of the BlackBerry failures.
BlackBerry over the past year lived a polemic about encrypted information. The fact is, the issue is that the operating system of BlackBerry didn't allow the information services of different governments to access data. That means that government couldn't see information about the user of BlackBerry, which is an advantage for the user because the intimacy isn't broken, but some of the users were suspected to practice spying and terrorism. So this freedom of communication, they beneficiate of this freedom of communication. So BlackBerry was directly accused of covering terrorism. Of course, this led to bad reputation and this affected sales over the last year.
And during the last month, according to an article of the BBC News from the 28th of September to 2016, so it's very close. So BlackBerry is repositioning itself as a software company. So this is a good solution to replace the bad financial situation of BlackBerry in this moment. So to cover the bad phone sales. And BlackBerry also stops designing its own phone and will only focus on selling its operational system. So he basically sells in his operational system on the phones that are still sold on the market in this moment, but they are now really focusing on distributing software for security and communication for other companies. And even if on the software market the competition is really strong, as we can see with Android and iOS software, BlackBerry is trying to break up the market and grow market shares.
Now let's talk about the recommendation. BlackBerry need to improve the hardware.
Okay, recommendation part I can ask question. Okay. And for the first part, introduction should be very short. Okay. I said it should be very short. The basic process, the basic action taken by the whole group, rather than give all details. Would you understand?
Okay. Yeah.
It's very short. So recommendations, I think this is not a presentation. It's a viva. But we ask you just give a very short introduction part about the case company and the whole organization, the group work, and the rest I can ask. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it is a very interesting topic because you use BlackBerry as examples. From strategic management point of view, why you choose this company? It's quite typical. Why you think it's typical for this very case?
I would say for this case, this case is very interesting because they did a bad management decision, and they didn't focus on the future of innovation and what's going on the external environment and what the competitors are doing in the same moment. They didn't follow the trend, and finally were in a really bad position financially. And even if their sales, they lost most of that market share. And I would say so in a management, in a strategic management views, they made the wrong decision, or made the decision too late. That causes their loss of market share. So that's why we took.
Alright, talk about too late to make a decision in terms of strategic management. Why do you think it's too late for the company?
I think it's too late for the company because the other company already that are already on the market already took most of the market share, and they already get a sustainable competitive advantage, and they are still exploiting it with their customer who has already. Now we can see that it was BlackBerry was a long time ago, and now people are very have a high fidelity to the iOS and Android phones. So this is why it's really hard to BlackBerry to come back in this market.
Okay, in terms of recommendations, and the first recommendation you could improve BlackBerry hardware. What that means hardware?
Hardware is the inside the technology inside one project. Is not the project, but the technology inside him.
Why I think hardware development is linked to the company's the failure, and probably is the future action should be taken by the company to overcome the problems. Why hardware is important?
Because BlackBerry have a strong competencies about the hardware, and we think that BlackBerry should continue on this way to promote his strong competencies, his strong skill about this the hardware.
Yeah. Because you talk about second times about hardware for the market. And one time talk about software. Okay, so any particular framework or theoretical framework we learned from this module can be applied for this situation. For example, what kind of framework of pesos, for example, SWOT analysis, can be applied to the analysis of BlackBerry case.
I'm sure. Can you repeat your question, please?
What kind of theoretical framework you think is relevant to the recommendation can be used?
The SWOT.
SWOT. Why we can use SWOT analysis?
Because they have identified the strength, like the hardware market. They are good at this, good reputation, but they have weaknesses, identified weaknesses. The phone market, they lose many market share on the phone market. It's their weaknesses and their threat too, because they continue to try to sell the phone.
That's the point you made about SWOT analysis should be on the slides. That's the point for recommendations linked to the theory you learned. Okay. Can you give me the first slide, please?
The first one?
Yeah, diagnosis. Okay, you talk about a lot of facts here about the failure for this particular product. So again, same questions. So any kind of theories you learned can be applied for the diagnosis.
We can use Pestel, SWOT, and the 5 quarters analysis.
How to use that?
Sorry?
how to use that?
How to use that? By making some research on the company and see about the internal and external environment, to see what are the strengths and weaknesses on the different markets BlackBerry are performing on.
Mm.
And about the past tense, for example, we need to share some information about politics, technology, the climate, the sociological climate, what people want and what people do.
Mm.
Yeah, because the company can perform on different parts of the world, so the political laws and environmental laws are even the customers' needs can be different and has to be adapted to the business strategy of BlackBerry, and they need to be well informed about that. They get to be really careful.
Mm. You talk about the main failure that it didn't develop any smartphone. Why this is the reason for you define as a main failure?
Because when other brands like Apple and Samsung take the trend to develop a smartphone, and people are really attracted by a smartphone, BlackBerry didn't hear, and that's it. They lost every market share because a lot of people move on the smartphone market, and they didn't hear.
And we can see in the figure just before that at this point the development of smartphone in these days, and it's when BlackBerry fails its strategy at the emergency of smartphone. It's a main failure, I guess.
Okay. That's good.